Few episodes in modern royal history are as richly layered, and at times as quietly dramatic, as the unfolding dialogue in Diamonds that now links three generations of Windsor women, the late Queen Elizabeth II, the present Queen Camilla, and poised between them, Catherine, Princess of Wales. The story can be told in glittering fragments. A tiara laid carefully on velvet in 1936, a Burmese ruby circlet forged from a nation's wedding gift in 1973, a pair of chandelier earrings sparkling beneath a Commonoterne princess's fringe as she greets ambassadors in 2023. Yet behind each jewel lies a network of choices, alliances, anxieties and hopes that stretch from the Raj to California, from a Dutch battleground called Arnhem to the drawing rooms of Buckingham Palace where monarchs still write their own history in gemstones. A queen who spoke in brooches. Elizabeth II never gave formal interviews. Her silences, however, were eloquent. Over 70 years, she perfected a visual language so fluent that seasoned diplomats learned to read a state banquet the moment she stepped through the doors. A sapphire and diamond bandeau. A signal to the visiting king of Saudi Arabia that Britain valued decades of Gulf cooperation. The modest turquoise, Russian brooch, on a visit to Kiev in 1994. A nod to Romanov exile that quietly reassured Ukrainian hosts of Britain's long memory. And every December, pinned over the Queen's Christmas red coat, the scarlet cyclamen scarab brooch Prince Philip had designed for their 5th wedding anniversary, a husband's joke fossilized in rubies, eternally declaring that private love outlasts public duty. Elizabeth's understanding of jewelry as diplomacy came early. In 1947, she stepped onto South African soil wearing a 6-strand pearl choker given by the Union government. 4 days later, in Rhodesia, she repinned the clasp to her sash so its sparkle would catch the local press cameras. The message was gentle but unmistakable. Every corner of the empire could find itself reflected in the gemstones encircling its future queen's throat, if only it remained loyal. Operation Market Garden, and a miner's lamp of hope. One of those corners was Arnhem. On the 17th of September 1944, Private Geoffrey Roberts, age 19, floated down through tracer fire and orange-colored smoke onto open Dutch fields. The plan was audacious: seize the bridges, rush armored columns north, end the war by Christmas. History records what followed: 4 days of street combat, shattered radio sets, a bridge too far. Captured, Roberts spent 18 months in Stalag 13, forced to crawl each dawn into a Saxon coal seam 600 meters underground. Years later he remembered the miners' lamps that hissed with grey light. They looked like Christmas lanterns in hell, he told the Imperial War Museum. Decades passed, armies came home. Yet every September the now liberated Dutch left flickering candles on Arnhem's graves, and Roberts, who had built a modest Midlands grocery business, and 2 sturdy daughters, returned to stand watch. He could recite by heart the roll call of men lost at Oosterbeek. And when his knees failed he learned to work a slide projector, so he could lecture school children on what courage sounds like at night, inside smashed cottages, where door hinges glow red-hot from phosphorus grenades. Anne, the bridge builder. Enter Princess Anne. In the late 1960s the Queen's only daughter discovered parachuting during a territorial army demonstration at Aldershot, and, to her mother's mild alarm, became something of an airborne obsessive. It was Anne who championed the idea that senior royals should attend not only the jubilant anniversaries, D-Day on sun-dappled Normandy beaches, but the ambiguous ones, Korea's snow-swept hills, the jungle clearings of Malaysia, the hollow, wind-scoured suburbs of Basra. So when the Arnhem Memorial Committee wrote to the palace in 2023 asking for a royal presence to honor the last living parachutists, the courtier who opened the letter knew precisely whose diary to approach. Anne studied the list, names fading like ink left in sunlight, and pointed at Geoffrey Roberts, "He's one of ours. Let's make sure he's there, and let's make sure he gets home." The princess spent 45 minutes with Roberts in a tent behind Austerbeek Cemetery. She drank weak tea from an enamel mug, while he told her about coal dust in his lungs and the smell of wet plaster when tanks collapsed Dutch walls. At the end she fixed him with that famously candid blue gaze and said, "We haven't thanked you properly yet. But we will." The silent ledger in the Queen's safe. That promise would find its form in gold. Because somewhere beneath Buckingham Palace, behind a triple-locked mahogany door, stands the lacquered strongbox where Queen Elizabeth stored the jewels she could leave at will. They were her personal property, not the state's. The Queen Mother's aquamarine clips, the diamond fern brooch from New Zealand, Margaret Greville's chandelier earrings, bequeathed with strict instructions that they go to Her Majesty in gratitude for her friendship. In the summer of 2022, as Elizabeth's health faltered, she invited Princess Anne and the then Prince of Wales to Windsor for what one footman later called the treasure audit. Over iced tea, the 96-year-old monarch opened leather cases, told their stories, and quietly slid handwritten cards beneath certain trays. Catherine in blue ink, Arthur beside the scarab brooch, a sign perhaps that it will one day pass to Princess Charlotte, christened Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. The Cardenne halo tiara already bore a label, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Cambridge, to be worn at her discretion on future occasions of state. The lover's knot tiara carried a longer note. Dearest Catherine, these pearls have listened to the whispers of Westminster Abbey, the tears of St. Paul's and the cheers at Kensington Palace. Wear them when the moment is larger than words. No label was affixed to the Queen Alexandra Kukoshnik, or the coronation necklace. Their fate will remain the prerogative of the sovereign. But the overwhelmingly clear pattern, and later confided to a friend, was that the bulk of Mummy's sentimental pieces are going to the Waleses, because she considered them the future core of the family. The unspoken dilemma of Camilla. Where, then, does this leave Queen Camilla? By law and by custom she may use any jewel from the state regalia, and from the late Queen's heirloom in trust collection, tiaras like the Oriental circlet, or the Delhi Durbar, whenever she undertakes state duties. She has worn them with aplomb. Yet those pieces are symbols of office, not tokens of familial sentiment. Elizabeth's private jewels tell a more intimate story, and intimacy is precisely what remained fragile in the late Queen's rapport with the woman once derided as the other. By 2022 the frost had melted. Elizabeth publicly endorsed Camilla as future Queen Consort, but it had not thawed so completely that she would consign Granny's amethyst teardrops, or King George's aquamarine bar brooch to Camilla's jewel box. Instead, the private legacy appears to flow towards Catherine, whose marriage has been unblemished by scandal, and, in due course, to Charlotte and the children of Prince George. To fashion historians it signals continuity. To Camilla's sympathizers it may feel a gentle snub. To palace strategists it is nothing less than a masterstroke. The most popular royal couple of their generation will soon house the most recognizable jewels, ensuring that whenever Catherine steps onto a palace balcony, the camera flashes carry with them 7 decades of institutional memory. From Arnhem to Ascot, jewels as narrative control. And so we arrive at the present week, when newsrooms were primed to dissect King Charles's Armed Forces Day message. The absence of the name Captain Harry Wales in that loyal address was bound to dominate headlines. Someone in the Master of the Household's office understood the risk. Within 24 hours the palace released a photograph that shifted the conversation. Anne, the no-nonsense princess, fastening a small red enamel cross and silver star to Geoffrey Roberts's blazer as he turned 100. No critics could snarl at that image. Here was duty meeting gratitude, the crown clasping the hand of a man who once defended it in smoke and ruin. The timing rewrote the news cycle. The omission in Charles's message became footnote rather than front page. And floating at the edges of every frame, glimmering beneath and swept back hair, were the same diamond corset drop earrings her mother wore during the 1969 investiture of the Prince of Wales, an echo of family ties, so subtle most viewers felt it rather than saw it. Catherine's next curtain call. Where does the jewelry drama move next? Court rumor suggests that when Catherine re-emerges, most hope at a late summer state banquet for Emperor Naruhito, she may debut one of the new old pieces marked for her in that Windsor audit. The smart money is on Queen Mary's diamond riviere. Simple, brilliant, the ideal metaphor for a consort-in-waiting, who has traded speech for steady radiance while she completes her treatment regimen. Some watchers whisper about an even more charged possibility: the first outing of the Queen Mother's Greville emerald tiara, an Art Deco zigzag blaze of diamonds and Colombian stones unseen since 1947. The symbolism would be irresistible. Emeralds are stones of healing and hope, and would serve quiet notice that Elizabeth's private bequests have indeed found their new guardian. What the jewels whisper. In Shakespeare's Cymbeline, a princess sends a bracelet to assure her banished lover of loyalty. 4 centuries on, Windsor women still use jewels to utter what protocol would otherwise silence. Elizabeth II declared continuity after the Blitz by wearing the Cambridge lover's knot, princess, and saluted sacrifice, with a pair of pearl drops in Arnhem. Catherine will soon signal a family's new chapter by fastening the diamonds her children will one day inherit. And Queen Camilla. She may never fasten the halo tiara, but she understands this language better than most. At next month's Braemar Highland Games, expect her to arrive in the late Queen's thistle brooch, Scotland's emblem, while Charles, still undergoing treatment, lifts his cap to the pipers. The message will be unmistakable: jewels are lines of a poem whose authors come and go, but the refrain, duty, memory, service, remain set in stone, or, more precisely, in meticulously cut facets of light.